So yesterday, obviously, was a seismic day in American history, American politics, certainly. Joe Biden bending to pressure to step down and allow what some believe will be a clearer path to victory in November, defeating Donald Trump and the existential threat to our democracy that he poses. A little later, I'm going to play a 1 minute and 2 seconds, I think, clip from July 12th, the day I got back, the first set of videos I did after getting back from Scotland. And my opinion has remained unchanged. I try to be a commentator who provides my thoughts and analysis on the news based on well thought out strategy and ideas. It's not headline to headline and I'm changing my opinion. It's remaining the same, clear for you. But what I want to do here, I want to read this letter from Joe Biden. You may have heard it. But I believe it deserves more attention because I think we owe a debt of gratitude to Joe Biden. This move to step aside, much like Lyndon Johnson in the 60s chose not to run for re-election. It is a thing setting aside ego. People act like it's just of course it's the clear, easy thing to do. One of the reasons George Washington is so revered by people on both sides of the aisle in America is the fact that he had the presidency and immeasurable power at his fingertips, and he could have just stayed in office. There was no rules about how long he was going to be president or could be president, and he chose to step down, relinquishing power. And that's a big deal. So for Joe Biden to make this decision is laudable. It absolutely is admirable. And this is the letter he posted to Twitter along with his announcement. He's going to be making a video announcement talking about it a little bit more fully. But I want you to pay attention to some of the language in this letter. And we need to remark and remember the accomplishments of someone who will go down in history as a great president. He wrote this: "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances." By the way, all of these things vehemently opposed by Republicans. The PACT Act, protecting veterans who were sickened while serving their nation in uniform. Republicans against it. A Biden accomplishment. Passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. Alliances that were frayed under stress from a Donald Trump administration. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Now, this makes me emotional because can you imagine anything of this sincerity or emotionality or patriotism being written and shared by Donald Trump? That's something to remember. And that's why I want to play this clip. There's going to be a lot of tension over the next few weeks before the convention. There's going to be a lot of talk online. You're going to have your bomb throwers, your clickbait machines, your audience capture robots like Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. They're going to be out there rabble-rousing around this topic, begging for the clicks, trying to get attention. And I think that it's wise to remember what's on the other side of a Democratic ticket. What are we fighting against? What are the threats that we face? It isn't a game. This is bigger than one person. This is not about Joe Biden. This is not about Kamala Harris. This is not about some unnamed nominee. This is about defeating Donald Trump, the absolutely real threat to our democracy and to the American people. On the 12th of July, I posted a video talking about how the polls haven't changed, that the blip on the radar that was caused by the poor performance in that debate didn't change anything. And I came down with what some thought was a vacillating, no opinion. But what I said, I still believe, and this is that. He answered in-depth, complex foreign policy questions, as well as what he's going to do about dropping out of the race. And he has said time and time again, he's not dropping out. He's the guy. And because he's the guy, that means he's our guy. You may disagree. There's a lot of people out there who disagree. If he is replaced, if he steps down, that will be our person. If it's Kamala Harris, it's Kamala Harris. That's currently where we stand. People need to keep their eye on the ball and remember who's running against whoever the Democrat is, and that's Donald Trump. Someone who wants to be a dictator on day one. Someone who has expressed the notion that we should terminate all articles, rules, and regulations up to and including the Constitution of the United States of America. That's who is on the other side of this. The destruction of American democracy is on the other side. It's not about Kamala. It's not about Joe Biden. This is bigger than them. This is about defeating fascism, not hyperbole. This is about defeating a threat to our democracy, a movement that lionizes terrorists who attacked our capital and attempted to overthrow the United States government, attempted to overturn a free and fair settled American election. That's who we fight against. It's not about one person. This is about Donald Trump. This is about stopping Project 2025. This is going to continue for decades into the future, so you better steel yourself for what is ahead. Whoever the nominee is, you need to get behind. We need to stop with the hand-wringing and armchair quarterbacking and get in the fight for your country. Fight for your life. Because unless you're a straight white Republican Christian male, you are in the crosshairs of the Republican Party for oppression, for their boot on your neck. I invite you to participate in this conversation. What do you think? I'd love to know. We can mix it up in the comments. You can also call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you guys very much. If you feel the same way and you want to help support this work, click the join button below, become a channel member for $2 a month. Go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Same deal there. I'm on social media everywhere at Dollemore, if that is your thing. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.